Well, folks, today's conversation is something that's really near and dear to my heart. I do work in a senior living environment, but that's not why it's important to me. It's not that I think everybody needs to move to a community. That's not it. What I do believe is that we have a revolution happening in our housing industry and also what's going to be available to us. So I've invited some folks to kind of shed some light from a personal perspective on that very topic. And I'm going to invite our guest speakers up today. So Danny Eischen and Shannon Steiger and Marilyn and Dana Olson. If you guys can head this way and step up on the stage. Danny, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to have you come over here. And from Danny's perspective, one of the things that's really important and the reason we invited him is he is a village board member. He served as our interim director. He's very passionate about the same thing I am. But he's had access, because he is also the CEO of Concordia, he's had access to some really great information. And so he's going to share that with you guys today. Yep. Come on up. You have to listen to Danny. You have to sit and listen to Danny. That's right. Shannon, come on up. Yep. Thanks, guys. All right. You got your
Marilyn, you get to listen to Danny. You don't have to. There is a difference. I know. Okay, how do I get my face off this screen?
Oh, here you go.
There we go.
Here, right. Got it?
Very good. Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here today. And I'm just going to share a little information before I pass it along to the experts over here. Just some things that are going on in our industry and in our country that I think are very fascinating. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this slide maybe before. I've been working in senior living now for about 30 years, and I think probably 30 years ago people started showing the slide. So not necessarily a lot of new information on here, but recently I went to a conference and they kind of put this into a little bit of a different perspective. So I just wanted to share a few things about what this means to all of us. First thing that I want to share is, as you'll see on this graph, between 2025 and 2035, the number of Americans aged 75 and older is projected to increase by approximately 11.5 million. By 2030, every baby boomer will be at least 65, and soon afterward, the youngest baby boomers will be turning 75. So to appreciate what this chart means, let's compare the 75-year-old population with the rest of the country. Between 2025 and 2035, America's total population is projected to grow by only 4%. The population of age 75 and older is projected to grow by approximately 42%. So 10 times the growth rate of the entire country overall. During that same period, the number of children is expected to decline by about 3 million. The working age population will grow by only 3.4 million, while the 75 plus population will increase by 11.5 million. So as you've heard over and over again, there's definitely a shift in what's happening with the population in our country. So in other words, nearly 90% of the country's net population growth during this decade will occur among people aged 75 years and older. So what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, one thing that's going to happen is, and as you'll hear more about this in a little bit, it's going to create a major imbalance. So the population that's most likely to need housing, healthcare, transportation, home assistance, and caregiving is growing rapidly, while the population to provide those services is barely growing. So a lot of people assume, well, I can just wait until I need certain services. But the problem is the number of people needing or wanting the same services is growing much faster than our system's ability to expand. So a growing senior population is only one side of this challenge. The other question is, who's going to be available to help this age group? So in this slide, we're going to talk a little bit about that. You know, for a long time in our country, families have been the backbone of senior care, but the number of available family caregivers is shrinking. So as you'll see in this slide, in 2010, there were approximately 7 potential family caregivers for every older adult that needed support. By 2030, that ratio is expected to drop to 4 to 1, and by 2050, 3 to 1. So this doesn't mean that families care less. What it means is that families are smaller. Children often live further away. Many adult children are balancing careers, children, their own health, and caring for more than one parent. So paid home care is part of this solution, but that demand is also increasing. Availability, reliability, and cost may become a larger concern. So aging at home successfully requires more than just saying, I want to stay at home. It's going to require a realistic plan for who's going to provide that help, what will that help cost, and what happens if a primary caregiver is suddenly unavailable. So just a few questions for you all to think about. If you needed help tomorrow, who's going to provide that? Does that person know that they're part of your plan? And would that arrangement work for several years, not just several weeks? So at the same time that more people will need support and fewer caregivers may be available, the country, more good news, is also facing a shortage in senior housing residencies. So that's what's shown here on this slide. So this shows a little bit about the senior housing challenge through 2030. A big reason for the senior housing challenge was this thing called the pandemic. I don't know if any of you all remember that. That just happened a few years ago. And a lot of things happened during that time. One thing that happened during that time is there was a slowdown in the growth of senior living communities and senior living units. Obviously, with the pandemic, there were less people moving into senior living communities. But then the other thing that happened during the pandemic is construction costs just increased dramatically. So the result of that is that the industry does not have enough residences to take care of the people that are looking for senior living. So as the shortage grows from approximately 63,000 residences in 2025, that will expand to about 609,000 units being short by the year 2030. So, and the other issue with that is, you know, senior living providers are looking at this. Senior living providers are being urged to build more because of the demand. But the issue is they can't be built very quickly. There's planning, there's financing, there's approvals, there's construction, there's staffing to think about. So all of that can take several years. So waiting lists are likely to become more common. If someone wants to wait for a fall, a hospitalization, a crisis, a change in health to move to a senior living community, then that decision is going to have to be made quickly. And where someone's going to go is going to be based on availability rather than their preference. So the point of all this is plan early. The benefit of planning early is not simply to just secure an apartment, it's protecting your ability to make your own decision. If you wait until you have to move, you may have to accept what is available. If you plan while you're still independent, you are more likely to choose what is right for you. So I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to go out and move to senior living tomorrow. I'm just suggesting that everybody needs to have a plan today. So whether that is what is your plan for staying at home, or what is your plan if you can't stay at home and you need to move to a community, what does that look like? So in order to accomplish that, what I would encourage you to do is research communities, understanding the costs, the contracts, tour while you can, evaluate options, discuss your wishes with your family, get on a wait list, get on an early acceptance program, be proactive. A good plan will answer 3 questions. Where would I want to live if my current home is no longer working for me? Who will help me? And is that plan realistic and sustainable? And what can I do now to preserve the greatest number of choices? So bottom line, do not wait for a crisis to make a decision for you. Planning early is not giving up your independence. It's one of the best ways to protect it. So that is what I wanted to share with you all this morning. Julie, any thoughts or questions on
Yeah,
that you have?
now I'm going to ask you to join the rest of the panel because I think we'll have some questions later. If you guys have questions, either from what Danny just shared or what the rest of the panel offer, you have a little index card in front of you. And if you'll write those questions down, we're going to collect those at the end and we will ask follow-up questions. So do you not have an index card? No. Oh, 3 important questions.
3 important questions. You bet.
Yes, that we can do.
Should have made a slide of those.
I know, right?
Okay. A good plan answers 3 questions. Where would I want to live if my current home no longer works for me? Who will help me if I stay at home, and is that plan realistic and sustainable? And what can I do now to preserve the greatest number of choices? Thank you.